Hardhome, Hardhome, and Hardhome. Tonight we're discussing Game of Thrones 508, Hardhome, on What's on the Box. Hi, I'm James.
And I'm James.
And this is What's on the Box, where we discuss the latest episode of your favorite TV show.
Best episode in years.
Yes.
And there's so many reasons why, not just the great battle sequence at the end.
Exactly. That was one of the coolest things we've seen as an action sequence, as a culmination of something the show has been leading to since its first scene. Also, aside from that amazing 20-minute sequence, the rest of the episode is great.
It's incredibly well written, it's incredibly well directed, it's amazingly edited.
Aside from the amazing battle sequence, the thing that I really loved about this episode was seeing Tyrion and Daenerys together, finally, at long last. And we got two scenes of them. I'm glad we started the episode with them, where she sends Jorah off, because Tyrion given some wise counsel. And then the scene where they discuss everything. It's like recapping, but in a good way.
I completely agree. I think going back a few episodes to our discussion about how the show handles exposition, that scene where they did kind of summarize a lot of stuff was very well motivated because these are two characters who are introducing themselves to each other. And it's funny because it's Tyrion. And it's dramatic because we're invested in these two characters. So I think that even though it is a little bit of an information dump, even though it is kind of a recap, there's so much new just in the emotional stakes of it that I think it works better than most scenes we've seen so far. And I completely agree, it's awesome we got two. In an episode where we knew we were gonna get an extended battle sequence, I was worried that all we would have seen from a lot of characters was the first scene we saw them in. Well, we got a couple with Cersei, we got a couple with Dany and Tyrion, and I think it was just a masterful use of the half hour before Hardhome.
Yeah, like with Cersei, we check in with her 3 times, but they're all just very short and very to the point.
It's very economic writing. The music reprise when Cersei is sucking the water off of the floor is Rains of Castamere. We get a couple bars of Rains of Castamere, which to this point has been a signal of something horrible. But here it's a reprise, it's a little bit different. We only get a couple bars of it and then it changes. It's just such a wonderful way of reflecting the state that House Lannister has fallen to, Cersei specifically.
We also check in with Arya, who has finally advanced beyond the busy work in the House of Black and White, and this is where Arya really shines. I think that she's a little bit spoiled, like we've talked before, when it comes to doing things she doesn't want to do and doesn't see the point of doing. But when you give her a difficult task that she's really into, whether it's training under Syrio or even being Tywin's cupbearer, she really excels at it, and I think that she's going to excel in this new task from Jaqen H'ghar that obviously she's really into, as we get that awesome smile from her as she walks away from him.
She excels when people she respects demand a lot of her. She gave a lot of respect to Ned, and so when he placed his trust in her to study with Syrio, that was kind of an extension of that trust. And then Tywin, I think even though she viewed Tywin as her enemy, there was no doubt in those scenes that she respected him.
Like at the end in the Crossroads, same thing with the Hound, who she tried to say earlier in the season that she hated him, but obviously when she lost that round of Truthy Smacky, it turns out that she did respect him, and probably why she excelled in that battle at the only inn in Westeros.
Now, Jaqen is her latest mentor and someone she clearly has a high opinion of. What I love about that smile is the way that they conveyed it to us as an audience. To give us that smile in that long 3-shot was the perfect way to do it because it was so subtle. To punch in on a medium shot or a close-up of Arya and have her smile after getting told that she's got to go kill somebody would have been too overt. And to let it kind of play off as this subtle thing that happens as she's leaving frame while the waif comes in and your eyes kind of split between the two really rewards us for kind of catching it and lets it play off as a more kind of private moment for Arya. That's just one of many examples of the amazing direction of Miguel Sapochnik.
Yeah, you have a lot of thoughts about the direction of this episode.
I think that from start to finish, this episode is one of the most well-directed episodes. The lighting is really amazing, the way that there's all of this backlighting.
And you kind of have a little bit of a tinfoily explanation for this.
Yeah, it might be a little bit tinfoily, but I think it kind of works. We get a lot of scenes where there's this dramatic backlighting, where the closer part of their body is dark and the further part of their body is very, very bright. I think that just furthers this kind of foreshadowing of what's to come with the White Walkers, because when the White Walkers show up at Hardhome, we get this very deep, long shot of them very far away in the frame, and they come at us first. There's a lot of sideways action later, but the first engagement with the Whites and the White Walkers is them coming toward the camera. And I think that the lighting is kind of reflective of that throughout the episode. It's just wonderful. And then the editing is fantastic. Before we even get to Hardhome, there's a hard cut from Cersei screaming to a close-up on Arya's face. To cut that kind of anguish short was such an amazing decision, because it doesn't allow us to kind of let that pain of Cersei lose its effect. In mid-scream, she's cut off. Like, we're not even going to give her the dignity to finish her scream. And then we move on to the next thing, and it's this pensive conversation between Arya and Jaqen, where nobody even cares who Cersei is.
I really like the editing when she's selling the oysters. That just seems like a filmic thing.
It almost had the feel of like a heist movie. And then, of course, we finally get to the battle. And in addition to this kind of sense of things coming toward you, you don't know what's going on. Everybody's dressed the same. There's all these quick shots. There's no faces.
Big difference between this and the battle at Castle Black, which was shot in a very...
heroic?
I was gonna say clear, but sure. Just in a way where you can tell what's going on. I remember the amazing 360 pan around the action, just showing you this is what's happening at this moment. And there's nothing like that at Hardhome. It is just all panic and disorientation, just like the people there are undoubtedly feeling. You start with this human engagement and conflict between the wildlings and Jon and Tormund. We got to kill off Rattleshirt.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Then when the Whites and White Walkers show up, it's just this hectic mayhem and full-scale battle for a little while. Then it goes into the fucking awesome sequence with Jon and the White Walker fighting, which was probably the highlight of the episode for me. Who the hell did not cheer when he struck through him and just blew him up into pieces? Then you get the conclusion of that giant, horrible battle, and then the amazingly eerie ending with the Night's King raising up everyone from the dead. The way they put that together and just ordered all those things, and it's just like, all the suspense, all different kinds of suspense. It's incredible.
I think every single beat of that sequence is perfect. The meeting in the hut between Jon and the other elders of the wildlings, we're introduced to the new Magnar of Then, and we know exactly who he is. We're introduced to Karsi, who's another one of the leaders, and a minor character who's perfectly characterized.
She sealed her fate as soon as she put her kids on the boat and said she'd be back. And I was so sad because she was awesome.
We know she's a goner, but we care. We care. She's had 5 minutes of screen time, if that. And we care as soon as we know that she's not long for this world. And the job that Brigitte Sorensen does in the little bit of time she has on the show, she's going to be one of the more memorable characters of this season. She's in half an episode. It's just so disappointing that we get a character that great in 10 minutes. And then we've spent 6 episodes with the goddamn sand snakes, who no one could give 2 shits about, and are the worst drawn characters in the entire run of the show. The last beat of the episode where the Night's King reanimates all the fallen.
It's so effectively done.
Yeah.
The silence that lingers, it's just great.
Just more amazing filmmaking.
Way to end it on just that long shot of, here's the situation we're in. Have fun trying to get the Iron Throne.
And they just slowly drift away.
Yeah, this episode really just brings into perspective something that the entire series has always hinted at, just that these petty wars between kings and political battles don't fucking matter when you have a horde of the undead coming from the north to wipe out all of existence. And I think this was a huge step forward in that regard, a huge reminder to the audience that, hey, this thing exists and this is like the end game. Nothing is more important than this. Nothing is more important than this. It doesn't matter who wins between Stannis and Ramsay. It doesn't matter if Cersei gets out of her prison cell. You got fucking the Night's King and a horde of whites who want to just exterminate the human race as far as we know.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
We took kind of a long break from any kind of sighting of the White Walkers, which kind of let the audience fall into the position of most of the realm. And then to have us abruptly reminded this way, you know, lets us kind of experience the same kind of thing as the characters, which is just more evidence of how great this episode is.
I'm still torn on which is the better battle sequence. I mean, Watchers on the Wall had, what, double the time in its battle. And I do really like how you're able to understand everything that's going on. But definitely this is the better episode, just because of everything that came before it, and I think the significance of this battle. And, you know, as much as I'm not a big fan of the disorienting style of shooting, it's very appropriate for what's going on. Next week's episode is the Dance of Dragons, and judging by the promo, gonna get a lot of stuff with Dany. I mean, we have to with that title. Since when does an episode 9 of a Game of Thrones season not deliver? Also, real fast, we know we're a little bit behind on getting these out on time. Memorial Day.
We're doing our best.
But we'll be back on schedule for the last 2 episodes, starting with next week's A Dance of Dragons. And until then, I'm James.
And I'm James.
And this has been What's on the Box?
You can subscribe to my channel now, or you can die. A girl must subscribe. If a man knows he liked that video, he must subscribe to that channel. They're waiting for you to subscribe.
Subscribe! Great video!